This game shocked me in many different ways, the character designs being one of them. I actually wasn't planning on picking up the game, but a friend convinced me to, and I'm glad he did. You all showed me a lot of love on my 2 character design videos, and some of you requested I go over Zenless Zone Zero. Now that I've caught up with the main story, you're in luck. Like the previous videos, this one is all my opinion and you're welcome to agree or disagree. Let's go. Black and green is another combo that I don't see enough of, and it's so nice to see it with Ambi. As a Hollow Raider that goes into the hollows and gets into a lot of trouble being part of the Cunning Hares, I'm not sure if it's a smart decision to have her midriff exposed. Otherwise, I think it's a nice design. The colors are spread evenly, and she's wearing shoes that make sense for running around. I also like that she has headphones, considering that she makes a big deal about movies and theme songs. It's a nice touch that alludes to part of her personality. Bro, it's Anton! For the brash personality that he has, and see how he was a bit reckless in clearing a bunch of ethereals in the main quest, it's nice to see a character with proper muscles. He does have a lot of white in his design, and since he works in a construction site, I would like to see some of the white coat or pants dirtied, or even ripped up to portray the hard work and recklessness that he has. On the end of his coat and part of the belt, you can see the iconic black and yellow stripes, often used in construction, which helps tie him to the Bellabog Construction Company, which is nice. Just don't get between him and his bro. One of our proxies, and she is super cute. I like the clip in her hair and the jacket she has. I'm not sure what's exactly going on with her shorts. Skirt? Skirts? It's a bit unclear as to what she's wearing. Though the rest of her design is pretty cool, and I like the orange, black, and gray palette that they chose for her. I would change the middle of the design to make it a bit more readable. Either commit to giving her shorts or a skirt, and if they really want something hanging down from the side, make it like a lanyard or something. I chose Belle as my proxy, and while I do feel her design gets a bit busy at times, she's been fun to roam around the world with. Now, I'm not a fan of the furriest designs, but I love the fact that Zenless Zone Zero that we're getting them. Variety in designs is a good thing, and if I want to sit down one day and smack things around as a big bear, I can do that in this game, and that's cool. For the Bellabog faction, they all seem to be wearing white on their design somewhere, and my overall comments on it is that I'd like to see some wear and tear on it as construction gets messy. I do like Ben's gold chain around his neck too. I also think it's really cool that if you have him and Coleta on the same team that they get a special burst. Billy is awesome. I know many were comparing him to Deadpool, which I can definitely see, but to me I get more Vash the Stampede vibes. I think that's just the Major Dragon fan in me though. I love the fact that our Starlight Knight fanboy is a cyborg with such a unique design. I think one of the most nuanced but best details about him is that he doesn't have a mouth. Even so, Billy remains so expressive just with how his eyes move and squint, and of course the help with great voice acting. That aside, the design does have a lot of black in it, with an eye-catching red jacket. I would prefer if there were some more red distributed maybe within his shoes or belt. I also think he's such a Starlight Knight fan that it would have been cool for him to wear some merchandise from his favorite franchise. A keychain hanging off his belt or a patch on his jacket would have helped sell how much of a mega fan he is. Either way though, Billy has a pretty good design and he's going to stay on my team for a long time. Corin really grew on me. At first I shrugged her off and didn't pay much attention to her, but once I got to see her in the story and take a closer look at her design, I was able to appreciate it much more. She's definitely based on Frankenstein, and that's clear with all the bolts she has on her chest and those that are in her hair. One thing that does bug me about Corin is her character screen animations. Did they really have to be like that? Aside from this though, she has a cohesive design and it works well with what her inspiration is drawn upon. The first ever limited character certainly is very unique. A shark maid from Victoria Housekeeping who loves candy. The pink-red underdye of the hair is a nice touch that complements the red color of her eyes. I like that she has a lot of spikes around her outfit. The most iconic part of her design has to be that big shark tail. I also like that they didn't just slap a shark tail on her and call it good. Having those stickers and text on the tail adds some extra charm that helps her fit into the world, which I think is a a really nice touch. Though her outfit is mostly black, there's enough varying shades of black and pops of white that help break up the colors so it's nice and cohesive. While I didn't end up pulling for her in the end, I recognize that this is a pretty well thought out design. What I like most about Grace's design is that I can take a quick glance at her and have a pretty good guess at what her profession is. The belt, gloves, pulled back hair, and goggles for me are a pretty good indication that she likely works with some types of hand-on job. I also like that she's wearing just good old tennis shoes. No heels, nothing too stylish like we usually see in gacha games. Good old practical shoes. I dig it. Her main three colors being black, orange, and white are nice, and though black is used the most throughout her design, it works for Grace. I also like orange and white. It's used to tie her to Billabong Construction Company, and the orange is a nice accent color for her. Design aside, Grace also has one of the most uniquely weird personalities in the game, which made me like her even more. I hope I can pull her one day. Koleda plays an interesting role as she is one of the younger characters, yet she is the president of the Billabong Construction Company. Yet I liked that we got a reasonable explanation for this in the story. Design-wise, she has some very messy, fiery hair. The bear headband is a fun touch too. It looks like she's wearing a white full-body suit of some kind, but the top part is bundled down around her waist. Just like Grace, Koleda is also wearing practical shoes. I love it. It makes perfect sense for those working in construction to wear practical footwear. I do hope that as the story progresses, we'll learn why she wears an eye patch. Considering we've spent a lot of time with Koleda and learning her story, I'm hopeful that we'll learn about this soon. Part of me wishes that her suit wasn't white, or if they made it somewhat dirty to show all the hard work she does around the construction site, but overall, Koleda's a pretty solid design. I'm not a fan of Lucy's design. Sure, she's got really cool spikes, a fun helmet, and a nice color palette, but I just really don't like those shorts riding up her butt like that. Was that really necessary? It looks like she's themed off of pigs, which is cool as we see some snouts displayed on her chest armor, belt, and I think there's a symbol on her helmet too. The main story did not include Lucy or Piper, so it's hard to give further insight as to how their designs connect to who they are as individuals, but from the design alone, I'm sorry any Lucy fans that are out there, I'm just not impressed. In gacha games, you don't get to choose your main chooses you, and I keep pulling this dude! I have 2 copies of Lycon, and his W engine, may I please get more characters! The monochrome color palette is strong with this design, and I honestly love it. It's done really well here, and the one splash of red in the center of his chest isn't distracting. Seeing as most of the cast wields a weapon, it's really cool that his weapons are his legs. While there are belts on this design, they don't feel out of place or distracting either. I haven't played his videotape story yet while writing this, so I'm hoping I get to learn what happened there. And while I've never been a big fan of the furriest designs, I do appreciate that Zenless Zone Zero is branching out and giving us more variety. Plus, it sounds like he's going to be my main for the foreseeable future, so welcome to the team, bud. Her design is one I wasn't originally fond of, but grew to like as I played the game. The red and black colors are evenly distributed throughout the design, which makes her feel mostly balanced, but the off-white colors in her chest and ear tufts does make the design feel a bit top-heavy. If she had some of that color in her ankles or shoes, I think that would help make her design feel completely balanced. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the barcode smacked in the middle of her forehead, especially since we didn't learn as to why it's there, or I completely missed it. Let me know if I did. Overall, though, her design grew on me a lot, and I like the idea of having 2 tails for a cat-inspired character. It's a pink hair character! I love those! But I have to say the belts and loops Nicole has going on just don't make a ton of sense. It feels like the designer wanted to add something, so they just slapped some belts on there and called it good. The rest of the design, though, I really like. The bamboo plush hanging on her hip that resembles her own bamboo helper shows that she does care for others despite her money-making attitude. The black and white color palette works well together for her, and honestly, the asymmetrical tights also work for Nicole. I just don't think she needed those extra belts and loops unless they're meant for her to hook her suitcase onto, but we've also always seen her holding it with her hand. Unfortunately, just like Lucy, I'm not very impressed with Piper either. The most I know from her was from a random encounter event about her liking trucks. I'm not sure if I like the color palette that Piper has going on, though it is distributed nicely. The blacks are towards the center, the orange is mainly on the legs, but we do have the goggles on her neck to balance it out. The white shoes are complemented by the white sleeves. I'm not sure about the yellow gloves though. I may have chosen to make them orange to complement the legs. While I prefer this design over Lucy's, it's still not one I'm a huge fan of. Hopefully once we get to meet these two in the main story, we'll have a better understanding of what they do and why they wear what they wear. This design is cool, but it isn't as unique as the others in the cast. Rena, I think the most unique part of her comes from her ghostly bamboo. Her design itself is a maid outfit with tight fabric around the front and a large slit up the side so you can see her legs. While the design itself I think is more on the plain side, her animations though I think is where she shines. Being able to float around the battlefield, twist and turn, and perform these flowy movements feels super great and is so fun to do. Also, her being ghostly is a nice touch, but I tend to get that feeling more from playing her in the actual game rather than just looking at her design. Another character wearing practical shoes! I'm sorry, I just am really excited to see a handful of characters in a gacha game not wearing heels all the time. Orange and black isn't a combination we see a lot and it works really well for Soldier 11. The goggles being on her actual face and not on her head is a nice touch as well. If I looked at this character without knowing her name, I'd be able to understand that she's a fighter of some sort. And as a fighter that takes on some pretty serious missions, it's nice to see her bundled up from head to toe. This design is really well done, and she's another character that I hope to have on my game file one day. Sokaku is so unique in this cast, and it gives our first taste of Section 6 faction. I love that this design team wasn't afraid to give us a blue Oni. The jacket is cool, the shirt is nice, and the band-aids on her legs alludes to some reckless behavior. The colors all fall into cool tones as well, which helps them all work together nicely for an ice-type character like Sokaku. I was so thrilled when I pulled her and her W engine. Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised considering she's a good support for Lycon, and the game is essentially telling me to main him. This poor man got so much hate, and I'm here to say that he didn't deserve it. His design can feel a bit muddy and bland with all of the black colors blending together, but it's definitely not as bad as people were making him up to be. The pops of orange are a nice touch and it helps tie him to his sister. I do think the shoes being white was the right choice, but they needed to add splashes of white elsewhere in his design to help break up the blacks, and also not make the shoes stand out like a sore thumb. If they gave him white stripes down his jacket sleeves to complement Belle's jacket, I think that would have been so nice and help achieve this. His hair is also great, even if it's a more standard hairstyle. I get it gets used often because it's nice and it works. Overall, I understand the comments about why it's being boring and just standard, but I don't think his design is bad by any means. It's decent, and I enjoy having him around during the main story. His banter with Fairy is especially fun to listen to. Lost over 17,000 of my currency and I still haven't pulled for her. No, I am not salty. Even though Zhu Yuan is a character I really want, I think her design is middle of the road. I like her hair and the little orange streaks within it, and I like the fact that she is wearing a public security emblem and uniform. It's a nice way to tie her to her profession, and I like the fact that, like Soldier 11, she's covered up as she deals with dangerous missions. And look, practical shoes again! There's a lot of black towards the middle to lower part of her design that makes it look a little muddy, and this is where I think she would benefit from having some dark blue highlights to balance her out. But overall, her design portrays that she means business as public security, and I think it does that pretty well. That covers all of our playable cast for the launch of the game. This is the part of the video where I echo a concern that I noticed. In my previous two videos, it was about repeating similar color themes and repeating the same outfit style over and over, but for Zenless Zone Zero, I'm shocked to say that I'm pleasantly surprised with the character designs. I like most of the current cast, and I like the direction in which the game is going. Unlike previous Hoyoverse titles where they play it more safe with their cast by only introducing characters with animal ears, for example, we have full-on furry-esque characters now. That's a big step towards to having a more unique cast. I do wish we didn't have so many young kid characters, or that some of the animations weren't as geared towards fan service, but those things aside, I'm looking forward to not only this game's story, but the characters' designs the team comes up with in the future. We already got a sneak peek at some really cool characters coming up, such as Miyabi and my personal favorite, Seth. I am oddly optimistic about Zenless Zone Zero. They have a strong start going here. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening, and if you like this sort of character design videos, I have 2 others you can go and check out. Otherwise, if you like VTubing or art-related content, do consider subscribing for more. I'll see you later!